Hello, my name is Larry Sefton. What I'm here to do is talk to you about the Scorcher II. The Scorcher II is something that I designed and started building about 2 years ago. It all came about actually 3 years ago when I started making some very large, I'd say 3 foot by 3 foot wall hangings that were turned on the lathe, and then I had to do pyrography on them. After I tried doing the pyrography, I needed to use 12 gauge U-shaped wire for basically doing deep embedded branding or scorching. There was nothing on the market that would allow me to do that. The standard battery chargers just didn't have enough power to do what I needed. And whenever I did try it, they usually burned them up. So that led me to making my own. I made my first one with a transformer, and it worked fantastically. It worked so well that I ended up saying I could modify it and make it a little bit better. Again, made another modification, and before I was done, I ended up with what I would call the Scorcher II, which allows me to do a couple things. First of all, I can use standard hand pieces on it up through large gauge wire. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. But again, it's basically a machine that turns nichrome wire from any temperature, cold to cherry red, and including, in many cases, melting it. So you can heat it up so hot you can melt it. Let's talk about what we have here. On the back side, there is a fan that allows it to cool, blowing air out this side. So if you're doing work and it's smoky, it will, well, as the Boy Scouts used to call it, it's a smoke shifter. It'll blow your smoke away. On one side, this side, and this control here is what is called the low side. The low side is approximately 50% the power of the high side. This is used for, let's say, smaller gauge and lower temperatures and shorter wires. This one would be for heavier duty where you require more resistance to get through the wire. You have two controls. They're both rheostats. They're push on, push off. On this particular unit down below, I have a switch, a foot pedal, and let me tell you about the foot pedal. It is basically a dead man switch, and the reason for it is if I get up and leave whenever I'm using it, I cannot leave it on by accident. If you leave one of these big heavy wires on for any time and you walk away and you forget it, it could be disastrous. So I purposely put that on. Believe me, I did it 2 or 3 times and said I'd never do it again. That's whenever I put the foot pedal on. I have sold this unit to several people. Some of them will buy it with a foot pedal. I always offer them a purchase of a foot pedal at my price. However, they elect for, let's say, the $30 not to put a foot pedal on it. I wish they didn't. Anyway. Let's talk about this a little bit. It's in a ammo can. It's a 50 caliber can. The reason for that is it's a good sturdy can, does what I need, and easy to carry, and basically indestructible. There's a switch down here that turns it from the low side, which would be over here, and then whenever I flip it, it would go, push it harder, to the high side over on this side. Let's put it over on the low side and that. Now, whenever I push on the foot pedal, you're going to see the light down here come on. That means that there's power on. If you weren't using a foot pedal, the light would be on all the time. So, and if you will see the red light right over here come on the low side. You see the red light come on. That means that, so if I turned it off, you'll see that the light does not come on. If I turn it to the high side, you'll see the light come on over on the high side. So let's put it back on the low side. I'm going to turn it the whole way around so that I know that it's totally off. So I don't know whether it's on or off right now. Let's push this on. And I'm going to just slowly turn it up and see if the lower light. See that light come on down there at the bottom? The red light, the white light? That means that the power is on, and I'm going to be sending power to the handpiece. Now, this particular handpiece is a commercial handpiece. You can use basically anybody's standard handpiece. You just have to adapt it to go on the unit. In this particular case, I bought what I would call a pigtail. And that particular pigtail allows me to put any, with this particular connector on it. I have another pigtail for some of the other hand pieces. But this is a commercial one. The tip on it is one that I made to do signatures with. So I'll show you how it works just for the fun of it. I'm going to push the power on. You see the light come on. And you'll see the light come on there that turns the power on. I'm going to turn it up so I can see. I'm going to turn it up to a point that you can see it right there. That was the signature that I just did. Not too bad for not having my glasses on and not practicing. Try it again. This unit can use standard hand pieces. The big issue with it is if you aren't really careful, you can burn up your hand piece or your tips on it. So whenever you turn it up, you want to turn it up very slowly and make sure you don't overheat it and burn it up. But I use it all the time for a lot of my hand pieces, particularly whenever I'm trying to do heavy work with one of the hand pieces and it doesn't work in a standard burner. So let me take this one out. I just got done showing you a hand piece that was commercial. This is a hand piece that I make. Anybody can make these. They're relatively simple to make. This one has a 24 gauge wire in it, and the wire is 5 inches long. The reason I'm showing this to you is that you could put shorter pieces of 24 gauge wire in here. You can coil it, you can do all kinds of shapes with it and turn it into some sort of brander for you. But a lot of people are concerned that the wire needs to be long, or they want to make sure that they can use a long wire. So let's go ahead and turn it on, and we're going to turn the power up. And I'm going to turn the power up on this, and you will see it slowly turn cherry red. There. It's turned red. Now, what this is used for, it's not necessarily for branding. The smaller wires this long don't like to do that. But what it's really good for is cutting styrofoam. That's what you can cut styrofoam and soft plastics with it all day long. And what you can do, if you wanted to, you can bend it and make fancy shapes with it in your styrofoam. So that's how you use it for styrofoam cutting. But this wire typically for wood burning is just plain too soft for to use it, unless you're doing something really small. For instance, I have one made out of real small like that. That is a basket illusion type. Let me see if I can find it here. I don't use this wire very often, but if you look real close here, you'll see here's a 22 gauge basket illusion type one. Molly Witten makes these usually around 18 gauge and some 20 gauge, but that would be it here. One that I usually use for some of my basket illusion is 16s and 14 gauge wire for it. I'm going to now hook into another handpiece. I change my handpieces rather than changing the wire. To change wire, all you do is take a screwdriver, like in this one, take this out and put it in, but I labeled it so we can see what it is. And this particular handpiece is a 16 gauge tip on it. Some people use that for actual carving, what I would call pyro-carving. It can be hooked into either side because of the size of wire it is. It can be put either side, so you can actually put another handpiece over here on this side and run it. But let's go ahead, and it's hooked in. Let's go ahead and turn on the power and see just what you saw it come up to power real fast there. I assume you saw that. I hurried up and turned it down. Otherwise, we would burn that right in half very quickly. It's great for doing the doing the leather, which would be the stippling. There would be your stippling on there, and you can just see how fast it goes. You can write with it. Okay, and then if you turn it up, you can, if you get it a little hotter, you can actually stipple a little deeper, and you can draw really dark lines with it. Okay, and if you really get aggressive, you can drill holes with it. On wood, it does the same thing. On the wood, you can do stippling. Let's find a good area here. You can do stippling. And if you are watching, you will see the air is the smoke is going away from me because of the fan right there. But I'm not sure there's many machines out there that can hold the power like that and be able to do the stippling as fast as I'm doing it right now. Just remember, this is cherry, and some woods that have a lot of sapwood in them or are sappy, you do have to clean the pitch off of these. This tip does not work too well for doing signing because of how big it is. You'd have to do a great big one. You have to write really big. So you can do something like that really big with it. But it does a pretty good job. If you're using, let's say 18 gauge, that you'd be able to make it smaller. And of course, if you go to 20 gauge, or if you take a 18 gauge and sharpen the point, that works extremely well. That's how I do most of my signatures. Let's go on to another handpiece. I now have a handpiece on here that is a 3-inch 14 gauge wire. Some people use this whenever they're doing pyro carving. You can see it's turned cherry red. Whenever I say they're doing pyro carving with it, they'll go like this and literally scorch the wood really heavily. This one will do great U-shapes. And then you could go something like this and put little dots in it. And you can texture the whole piece of wood with this. Okay, but that's showing that it's 14 gauge 14 gauge nichrome wire. One of the more famous brands that a lot of people use for doing pyrography and embellishment is what I would call the basket weave, which is nothing more than a coil. Molly Witten and some other people on their standard wood burners can use up to 18 gauge wire in size, but they really can't get down to the 16 and let's say 14 gauge. This particular one is this basket is 14 gauge with 6 coils in it. And I'll show you how well it works, and we'll do a couple of things with it. Well, I'm pushing the pedal now to start it, and I will give it a little extra oomph here with the power, and then I'll turn it back. Once we get it up to temperature, drop it back a little bit, it'll normalize, and now you're good to go. And I'm just going to, and you can see the air that's blowing across. If I do it without, if I move up here away from the air, it actually does a little bit better job. Now, that might not look that great right now, but if you brush it out, you'll see the coils very well in it. Or if you want to change wood, you could change it to something like this, which is cherry. And cherry does an excellent job of branding. So, but it holds its heat quite well and does a good job. And now we're going to go to our last handpiece. Before we go on, let me tell you about this particular handpiece. It is made with either 8 gauge or 10 gauge wire. It allows me to use 12 gauge or even 11 gauge nichrome wire. On here is 7.5 inches of nichrome wire. So envision that. You could make this coil without any trouble with that amount of wire. So let's go ahead and turn that up and let you see just how well it works. It takes a little while for it to normalize and come up to temperature, just because of the mass of wire that you got there. It takes longer to heat up. If you're watching it, you'll see it turning red hot. If I leave it actually go a little bit longer, it will. We can actually melt that wire. Let's turn it back down a little bit and let it normalize. And let's take it up just a little bit more. Now we'll see how this works. I'm just going to take it over here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in the air circulating, because I don't want the smoke on me. Okay, or you can do a really big one. Now, if we did it without the without the fan, and we turned it up just a little bit more, we might be able to have a little bit of fun here. Let's see. There we go. We can actually make it pop, and that is, if you're doing some show and tell and demo someplace, doing flame like that, people love fire. Well, that's what you can do with it. So that, again, that is 12 gauge wire. And you just got to be careful where you lay that down. In my shop, I have a piece of fireproof, fire-resistant material. This is used in ovens, not ovens, but like pottery ovens. And you can put that in there, and it can be red hot, and it won't melt anything, and protects everything. Also, I have down here a silicone mat that takes a lot of heat resistance, because the plastic table, if you were to look at it, you would find several marks for me putting my burner down a little bit too soon, and it starts to melt. That's really all I have for now regarding the Scorcher II. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put my email below. And if you're interested in maybe picking one up at some point, and it might you might want one, let me know, and we should be able to work something out. This unit is not meant for everybody. It is meant for people that really want the extra power and be able to do the branding. And there's just not that many people out there that are doing branding and burning, or what I would call pyro-carving, like some people are doing. So get back in your shop, have fun, and thank you for being with me.